Thanks for attending this seminar. I'd like to talk about the importance of nutrition and exercise in healthy living. Okay, let me introduce myself before I begin. I have a PhD in nutrition from USA. That was a long time ago. And I worked for different companies in Japan, US, and Singapore as well. Right now, I work for Morris, and then I also represent ISS in Japan, which is a sports nutrition society that is in the US, but I represent the Japanese branch. And when I was with Abbott, I actually built a lab in Biopolis. This is my team, and this is a lab I built. And you see a small office, and I'm sitting there. And so I did is that lohe? Is that what you call? I did that with my team, and it was really fun. And these are the products that I did the research on, Abbott products. I'm sure you may have seen some of these in the supermarket. And I also participated in NDP 2010 as a chauffeur for one of the MCs. And I really enjoyed living in Singapore, and I'm really glad to be back here. Okay, so today I'd like to talk about this new food pyramid. And I'm sure you don't know this, but this just came out in January this year. So last month it was announced in the USA by this gentleman. Do you know who this is? Huh? Yeah, yes, JFK Jr. He's, I think, 74 years old with this body. And he really lives a very healthy lifestyle, exercises, and he believes in nutrition following this new pyramid. And if you recall, the pyramid used to look like this. It was actually as opposite of what was announced last month in the US. As you could see, the bottom is basically a lot of grains or the carbohydrates. They recommend to eat a lot, bread, a lot of rice, and so forth. But the meat is very small portion compared to carbohydrates. But now the new diet guideline, or this new pyramid, emphasizes on high protein diet, eat your vegetables, and less on the carbohydrates, grains, okay? In Singapore, I think you follow this plate, the healthy plate. This was announced by the Health Promotion Board. And it actually is based on the US My Plate, which was announced in 2011. So it's sort of old dietary recommendation. But in Singapore, My Healthy Plate recommends you to eat 50% fruits and vegetables, which is really good, and 25% meat, and then the rest 25% from bread and cereals and so forth. And they recommend to choose water instead of drinking soft drinks. Use healthier oils, not a lot of animal fats, and then be active, exercise, okay? So I know you're following this healthier plate, but before we talk about nutrition and healthy living, I want you to think about what we were about 60,000 years ago. Okay, we were spending life like this, not necessarily eating a lot of rice, not eating a lot of bread, but we're gathering meat and plants from the ground. And we have not really evolved much compared to this age. The human gut looks like that of carnivores. Very small cecum compared to herbivores. They have the largest cecum to ferment plants, but carnivores don't have that. So if you compare our gut system, it looks really like a carnivore. And we still have canine teeth. So we are carnivores. We're actually meat eaters as far as Homo sapiens are concerned. Okay, so which means we should eat a lot of protein. And that is reflected in this new guideline, or the new food pyramid. This guideline tells you to eat lots of protein, and use healthier fat, high quality, nutrient dense protein, which is egg, poultry, seafood, and red meat. But focus on lean protein, not fatty meat like Wagyu that all the Japanese like to eat. That is really fat, animal fat meat. So it's not recommended, but you should eat a lot of lean red meat. And of course, like chicken and fish. And plant like beans and nuts and seeds are also good source of protein. The recommended amount of protein you should be eating in this new guideline tells you 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of a body weight, which is not really reflected in Singaporean food guideline. The Singaporean guideline tells you to eat about 0.8 grams per kilogram body weight, and for the elderly, they should consume more, 1.2 grams. But for the normal adults, the recommendation is only 0.8 kilograms. 0.8 grams per kilogram body weight. So it's significantly less than what was recommended by the new guideline. And in fact, in the sports nutrition world, we consume 1.4 to 2.0 grams of protein per kilogram. So athletes with a lot of muscles, they need to consume a lot more protein. When they did the survey in Singapore of how much proteins that the Singaporeans are eating, they actually found that only 75%, well, I shouldn't say only, but 75% of the population is actually eating enough protein. The rest, 25%, is not eating enough, okay? So that was a survey in 2022. It hasn't changed much since 2019. But when you go to the older population, only 50% of the older population meet required intake. So they're taking less than 1.2 grams per kilogram. Okay, so not consuming enough protein could result in sarcopenia, frail, and a lot of elderly cannot consume much, and that result in thinning, losing muscle, and so forth. Now, when you focus on the carbs and sugar, the new guideline puts on the bottom with a small amount, and they want you to focus on the whole grain rather than processed carbohydrate, which means like a flour. We use a lot of flour in cooking, but that's not really recommended, but they recommend you eat a lot more of whole grain. And this guideline specifically tell you to avoid added sugar, sucrose. I know a lot of the sugar is being used in cooking or even drinking. Kopi, when you go to a kaya toast place, they put a lot of sugar, right? That is really discouraged in this new guideline. And U.S. has a lot of obesity, but also Singapore, that is also a problem as well. So sooner or later, Singaporeans should be mimicking this new guideline. Now, when it comes to how much people are eating whole grain, okay, it's only 5% of the population is eating enough whole grain. So a lot of flour, lots of sugar. So again, here, Singaporeans has a lot to work in terms of increasing whole grain intake. Now, when it comes to carbohydrate consumption, I want to go back to this human evolution 60,000 years ago. Well, we were like the monkeys, and we were gathering meat and hunting, fishing, and we were eating healthier food just like what was being recommended in the new guideline. But 10,000 years ago, through the agriculture, we've learned how to, produce grain or produce carbs from wheat, rice, and so forth. And then Industrial Revolution, what happened in 200 years ago, we learned how to purify sugar, okay? And that is a cause for stroke, hypertension, diabetes, and all these lifestyle-related diseases. Because look at in the human body evolution, we start eating this sugar only recently, 200 years, compared to 60,000 years ago. So we have not really evolved. Our body has not evolved to adjust to eating sugar, okay? That's why we we gain weight from eating sugar. Now, in your body, so let's say in a 70 kilogram person with a 17% body fat, we have about 20 grams of sugar in the blood, okay? And then about 100 grams of glycogen is the form of carbohydrate storage in your body, 100 grams in liver, 400 grams in muscle, and then the rest is body fat. All these are source of energy. First thing goes is blood glucose that is used up very quickly. And then the next one is glycogen in the muscle and liver. The last one to go is fat. So it's really difficult to lose fat, as you all know. Now, when you eat starchy food or sugar, get digested to glucose and it goes into the bloodstream, and that is used as a source of the energy. Whatever is excess, it goes to the storage, and more excess goes to the fat. But we have a mechanism to produce sugar from fat. When the blood glucose level go down, we could actually produce sugar. And that's called aerobic oxidation of a fat to produce blood sugar. So we don't actually need to eat lots of sugar or the carbohydrates. We can make sugar in the body, okay? So taking or understanding this mechanism, you could apply this to doing aerobic exercise. Aerobic means using oxygen when you do the exercise, and you burn body fat to produce blood glucose. Now, if you understand this mechanism, when you do aerobic exercise like treadmill, running, the key point of aerobic exercise, first you do it when you're hungry or when your blood glucose level is low, okay? And I typically do in the morning. When I first wake up, my blood glucose level is very low. And then if you had a meal, let's say you could only jog in the afternoon, you do that 3 hours after the meal. So after 3 hours, your blood sugar level goes down, then you do aerobics. Because if you do, when you have a blood glucose high in your blood, all you're doing is using that glucose in blood, okay? You're not reaching to your fat for energy source. So make sure you do aerobic exercise when you're hungry, or at least 3 hours after a meal. Now, when you finish your exercise, you don't drink any sports drink or anything but water for 30 minutes, because your body keeps on burning energy, okay? Once you put some sugar in your system, then that stops. So let's say if you do 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, and then you wait for 30 minutes, just drink water, which is like 1 hour of a body burning your fat out of 30 minutes of exercise. So you're very efficient in fat burning. And that's the way to do aerobic exercise. Now, also the way you eat meal is another trick. This is a typical graph of blood sugar in your blood after 3 meals. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then you have 3 peaks. And when your blood sugar goes up, there's a hormone called the insulin, which is secreted by your pancreas, which basically lowers the blood glucose. That's the only hormone that lowers blood glucose in your system. So when you have a high blood glucose level, insulin comes out, and then your blood glucose goes down. So you repeat this 3 times when you have a typical 3 meals. But let's say if you only do one big meal at night, okay, then you get real big peak of blood glucose, then the insulin comes real big peak. And insulin is an anabolic hormone. So when you have insulin in your body, it forces your body to preserve all that energy and basically make fat from sugar. Now, if you have this high glucose state in your system, for short term, you could feel kind of sleepy, feel fatigued, and then you basically get tired after a big meal, okay? And if you have a high blood glucose level for long term, then you could become maybe diabetic. That could result in, blindness, amputation. You could have a risk of a heart attack. So having a high level of blood glucose is not really good for you. Short term, long term. Now, why does it happen? Now, remember, I said go back to the Stone Age, and when our ancestors were looking around for food, your food is not guaranteed. You might not get meal for 3 days. I don't know. So the body knows how to store energy when you have food. So when you eat, body stores. And that is overeating, same as overeating. And if you obviously don't have enough food, then starvation, and you die. And those people, or the Homo sapiens, could not cope with this lack of food, all died down. But we are the surviving ones. So we have capability to store energy when you eat food. And it's unfortunate, but that's who we are. It's basically how we are, not evolved yet. So instead of having 3 meals per day, the trick is to have what's called insulin or blood glucose idling. And you trick your body that food is always available, okay? Then your body learn how to not to store fat, all right? So the way to eat is basically introduce snack in between meals. So you have, 6 meal occasions: breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, okay? And this way, you're idling blood glucose, so your body feels, oh, okay, I feel safe. There's food coming, so I don't have to store food or the energy. Now, you could do this way, or you could also do something using one of our product, KAIKO, is in every meal, you introduce something to block sugar absorption, which this KAIKO product does. And this is a graph to show you what happens to your blood glucose after a meal. We call this OGTT, oral glucose tolerance test. And you feed, let's say, 200 grams of rice, which has about 80 grams of carbohydrate, and then you monitor blood glucose. If you consume our product 15 minutes before eating meal, or the 80 grams of carbohydrate, then you could see the reduction in blood glucose level by 35%. So instead of having small meals, but you could do this by tricking your body. You don't need to have a huge blood glucose spike. Therefore, your body feels comfortable that there's a food always available coming. I need to take a sip. And by the way, we will be testing this later, because I saw we have a bunch of rice balls. And so we'll give you a KAIKO product before eating rice balls, so your blood glucose will be suppressed. Okay, so I told you we were carnivores, right? Homo sapiens are carnivores. But ever since Adam and Eve ate the apple in the Garden of Eden, we became omnivores. Not just the carnivores, but we eat different things. And we start to ferment in a large intestine, in the large gut. And if you follow the guideline, you eat a lot more protein, a lot of meat. This character, those of you who may know Chinese, is fu. The top part means gut. And if you put meat in the gut, it rots. This means, it rot. So if protein rots in your gut, it produces carcinogenic substances. So, I tell you to eat a lot more meat, but here's a negative side. You could face production of carcinogenic compounds in your gut, and that could result in the increase of colorectal cancer. Now, if you look at the statistics in Singapore, you could see the colorectal cancer is the second cause of death among all the cancer types, okay, in men and also women. Okay, so colorectal cancer is really a bad cancer, and a lot of comes from actually from the diet too, not just the genetics. So these are the causal relationship that they found out that the certain food types could prevent, and certain food types could actually increase the risk of getting colorectal cancer. The top ones, the whole grain, vegetables, lean meats, okay, low-fat dairy, beans and nuts. Those are found to actually prevent you from getting colorectal cancer. The bottom one, processed meat like sausages, added sugar, alcohol, and lots of these processed food. They are known to actually increase the risk of getting colorectal cancer. Now, if you look at what's being recommended here, it looks like the new food pyramid, okay? So they focus on lean meat, lots of vegetables, okay? And also reduce using sugar, okay? Now, how do you then, do effective dieting? There's a program called Body for Life. This was very popular in the United States about 30 years ago. As you could see, before and after pictures of these individuals, okay, this is actual people. They did this program for 3 months, and they were able to convert their body into a lot more healthier body style. Now, this 3 months body transformation program focuses on high protein diet, low fat, and also low GI, which means low glycemic index, which does not impact the blood glucose. And you split your meal into 4 to 6. So like I said, you trick your body that food is always coming, therefore you don't need to store fat. And people, unfortunately, like to eat a lot of different good tasting stuff. So we'll give you one cheat day out of 1 week. But you need to do aerobic exercise while fasting when the blood glucose level is low, and you do on an empty stomach. And then you have to do strength training, and you consume protein. So you could really build your muscle. So the theme here is you decrease body fat and you increase muscle mass. Okay, that's the whole focus of this program. And you do by exercise, and you change your food eating habit, food choice, okay? And guess what? I did this too. This is me. In 3 months, I was able to change from this fat, chubby kid to a little more muscular guy. So anybody could do this. Anybody could do this. It's not impossible. The reason why we want to increase body muscle is because the muscle cells burn 3 times more energy than fat cells. So if you have a lot more muscle, then you eat the same amount of food, energy, but your body knows how to burn it, okay, instead of storing in the fat cells. So if you have a lot more fat cells in your body weight, your body is not really burning anything, okay? But if you have a lot more muscular tone, then you're naturally becoming a burning machine instead of having this fatty cells. Now, this study is kind of interesting one because they show actually consuming protein, 0, 10, 20, 40 grams of protein every day. And the blank bar is rested, so you don't do any exercise, okay? Even you don't do exercise, you could actually increase protein synthesis or the muscle synthesis by just drinking protein supplements. And if you combine that with exercise, which is the black bars, okay, it's more pronounced than just doing or just consuming protein. If you do protein and exercise, you could effectively increase your body muscle. So key is you could just, protein consumption itself could increase your body body muscle. But if you combine that with the exercise, it's even better. So do your resistance training, drink your protein, then your body will become more muscular. Now, this one is the impact of exercise on what's called insulin sensitivity. So your body kind of loses sensitivity to this hormone, insulin. So when you are not exercising, then when you have meals, your insulin comes out, it doesn't work, so you get more insulin produced. Then it's actually a negative cycle, okay? But you could stop that by just exercising. This study was done with 8 weeks, and you do exercise five days a week. And look, what happened was, this is the same study. You eat 80 grams of carbohydrate and you monitor blood glucose. The top line is before, and then bottom line is after you doing exercise. Your actually insulin level is lowered, which means you can manage blood glucose with a smaller amount of insulin. Therefore, this anabolic insulin does not take effect in your body, so you could maintain your body weight lower. Blood glucose is the same thing. The exercise alone could cause you to lower your blood glucose. So doing exercise is just good for overall, and do it right, do it efficiently, consume right food, then you could live healthier life. Again, so this is your current healthy plate. 50% vegetables and fruits, 25% meat and others, and then 25% brown rice, whole grain, so forth. But the new guideline, if you follow the new guideline or this new pyramid, this would have to change to reduced amount of carbs, increased protein, and the fat you still need. So the shift in the proportion of carbohydrate, protein, and fat could actually is even better. So hopefully your health promotion board looks at this US guideline and maybe come up with a new healthier plate for Singaporeans. But again, be active, eat right, and exercise. No sugar, no sugar. So those are the key point. Of course, you need to eat vegetables because you need the fiber to get rid of all the carcinogenic stuff that fermented protein could cause. So 2 key messages. One is you are what you eat, and the other one is no pain, no gain. You need to really feel the pain to gain muscle. So I do that 6 days a week. This morning I did the treadmill at the hotel room, and I feel fine. I went to eat kaya and coffee, but I did not put sugar in coffee. So anyhow, I hope you're able to learn something about healthier living, right diet, and exercise. Hopefully you could change your lifestyle from tomorrow, and maybe 3 months from now, I'll see a different you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, for the presentation. So I'd like to take a quick brief moment for a bit of more interaction. First off, do any of you guys have any questions for Seiji-san about his presentation today? I think it was a lot of content. I'm sure everyone needs some time to digest, but feel free to kind of ask any questions.
Which one's that?
Yeah, just minutes. So is that how?
This one?
Yeah, is that how many minutes of exercise down the bottom there, or?
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
This study was done actually a little more intense. They did about 4 hours of exercise a day, which is a lot. I would not recommend to do 4 hours. That's too much. You got other things to do. Okay, but like I said, if you're efficient, like I said, do 20 minutes of treadmill, and don't drink anything but water. That's worth about 1 hour of exercise, right? So, yeah, and then resistance training. I would divide it into portions. Do upper body one day. So Monday, do the upper body. Tuesday, you do aerobic exercise. Wednesday, you do bottom. And then you do aerobic exercise on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then the Friday, you go back to the, upper body. And then Saturday, you do aerobic exercise. Sunday, eat your laksa. Cheat day, yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm a drinker, but I want to ask you, can you say something on the, when I take, alcohol, after alcohol, can you say something on how it impacts on, the effectiveness of the KAIKO?
Oh, with the KAIKO,
Yeah.
we don't have any study to show the benefit of KAIKO with the drinking yet. But for you, it's important to remember carbohydrate, 4 kilocalories per gram. Fat, 9 kilocalories per gram. Protein, 4 kilocalories per gram. Alcohol is 7. So the total calorie intake also matters, right? So if you're drinking, you need to adjust your food intake as well. Unfortunately, when you drink, you eat like crazy too. You go eat your ramen after drinking, right? So it's really bad for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? How about Hirano-san? Do you have any question?
Well, it's very happy to see that this kind of the information, and then now you are trying to present in KAIKO. What is the main impact when you recommend it to the KAIKO? What's the big difference compared with the a lot of this health stuff in the market, and why you think that it is good?
Yeah, so the key one actually is this graph, right? So we don't want to have these spikes of blood glucose. KAIKO has a compound called DNJ, deoxynitrosamine, which actually inhibits your glucose absorption. Okay, there are other things that physically prevents glucose from getting absorbed in the small intestine, like resistant starch. Okay, so this works in a different mechanism. When you combine those two, actually this works a lot better. DNJ works a lot better than resistant starch. So this way you could control the spikes from the meal. Okay, therefore long term you could manage your blood glucose, insulin levels. Therefore your body will learn not to gain a lot more fat.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a little bit of question from me to the crowd. So I think there was a lot of information, a lot of practical advice. Who here has like the courage, or like who's kind of confident to actually put these into practice from today or tomorrow? Did it kind of sound hard or challenging?
More like half of it, like a hybrid, not because. So usually from what I've, because I'm actually starting to get more health conscious, that I've been watching a lot of shows and everything, I often hear that habits, you take time to get used to it. So probably we'll follow the advice, but you start with like a reasonable amount, half of the things you advise, then slowly grow forward. And then maybe you can probably do it full time.
Thank you. Seiji-san, out of your advice, what would be like probably the easiest or kind of the priority practice if you start from zero?
Easiest is, you could pop KAIKO before the meal. That's easy. But I always recommend people to buy scale and get on it every day and record it. If you write down your weight you feel guilty soon. Oh, I haven't changed much. Maybe I should do better. But I do that. But when I was doing this Body for Life program, I wrote down everything I ate. And actually, I went further than that. I plan what to eat. Okay? So when I go to, let's say, a function like this, then I consciously make sure that I don't overeat and pick right foodstuffs. Today, unfortunately, we have a lot of rice balls. I typically don't eat much rice. I try to avoid eating rice, actually. It's just, I always tell people to not eat with your eyes, but eat with your brain. So you think before you put something in your mouth. Then you could start to control your dietary habit. Yeah. I know Singapore has got good food, but if you choose what you eat, I think you could be successful. And exercising, like I said, a lot of people actually, when you go to gym and see treadmill, people are drinking sports drink, Pocari Sweat. Okay, you're just burning Pocari Sweat. All right, you want to burn your fat. All right, so to do that, empty stomach, 3 hours after meal. That's all. You just need to be conscious about it. Then your exercise become more efficient.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of introduce our company and myself. My name is Keisuke Muroi, and I'm head of business development for a Japanese startup called Morris. It's a deep tech startup that's been co-founded by a university in Japan as well. And our vision is crafting through tradition, thriving with nutrition. And what we mean by tradition is the sericulture in Japan. So we are a deep tech startup that leverages the power of silkworm, the intelligence of silkworm, to thrive humankind with nutrition. We've been gone through a lot of research and found out that this unique insect is not only a source of protein, but a lot more than that. It's a multifunctional ingredient that has a potential to enlighten our lives and expand our health span. And why we had our focus on silkworm is pretty interesting, actually. I know there's a lot of insects out there that are being researched for eating purpose. One feature is it's really fit for mass production. It's big, it doesn't escape, it doesn't eat each other. So if you've seen like crickets, they actually eat each other when they're in the same space. And they actually jump and run away. So there's a lot of loss, and it's very inefficient. And actually, it's very tasty. I'll let you guys taste it later, but since they only feed on mulberry leaves, do you know mulberry leaves? Yeah, they actually taste like one of those leaves, and similar to matcha, okay? And whoever likes matcha or tea, green tea, I think you'll find it very pleasing to drink. So it's actually very easy to applicate into a lot of form of food and drinks. And last but not least, it has these unique nutrients like D&J, which Seiji-san just introduced you. But not only that, it has a lot of other features. And this is all these kind of research and intelligence is these cutting knowledge from Japan. And we believe that this could be a solution that can be brought out to the entire globe. Okay. So this is just a bit of comparison when you look at the ingredient in the aspect of preventing blood sugar. Okay. There's a lot of ingredients out there that says it supports your blood sugar level. One of the very significant feature is that it's effective with super little dose, okay? Where other ingredients need to intake for a few weeks, few months to kind of actually feel the change, or actually when you measure it, feel the actual suppression. Our ingredient is very instant. Like you saw in the graph earlier, just 30 minutes and then you see that difference in terms of numbers, which is very significant. It's a food, it's not a medicine, but it has the near same effect as a medicine. Okay. Not only that, okay, this is something under research, but all these features on the left side are potential features that may actually be claimed on our silkworm powder, like bioavailability, antioxidant, lipid metabolism, intestinal regulation, blood sugar, immunostimulation. Okay, so it's just a one single natural ingredient, but has the potential to address all these metabolic health issues. And with this potential, we're conducting a joint research with A-STAR, which is a government institute in Singapore that's working very near the Singapore government. And we have a lot of feedbacks from them claiming that even with their aspect, this ingredient is very special and they've never seen anything like it. So not only ourselves, but a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders in Singapore as well has high hopes on it. And so long story short, I think our ingredient is clinically relevant, multi-metabolic, and it's single natural ingredient with minimum side effect. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to implement this ingredient into a form that everyone would be easy to consume, and we call it the KAIKO brand, which is displayed out there. Okay, so we have put this ingredient in 3 times forms. One is supplement, which is called the DNJ Plus. So this is for someone who wants to efficiently suppress their blood sugar. Okay, it's easy to take 3 capsules before meal, and you see that 35% decrease. Okay, one in the middle is protein. It's a combination of silkworm powder and whey protein. So those who want balance or meal replacement, diet protein, this one is for you. Okay, and it's added with matcha powder and yuzu to make it a very more tasty one. Okay, and last one is silk matcha. This is a combination of a premium matcha from Japan and silkworm powder. So like I said, it kind of tastes like matcha itself, the silkworm. So naturally, it has a good combination of taste with matcha. So these two are for tasting later. So we'd like to kind of give a toast, do some kanpai together after the session. I hope you enjoy it. Okay. All right. In case you're wondering how we produce, we call it Soil to Supplement. We have our own mulberry farm. We have our partners in Japan that produces silkworm, and we also do actual production. The factory is in Japan as well. And we assemble them in Japan, and then we ship it to Singapore. So in case if you're wondering or anxious about traceabilities, I can name exactly which farm or which leaf the silkworm ate. So one of this transparency is our very aspect we're very confident in. Okay. Okay. So let's give a toast. Like some networking, we have some good food. Seiji-san said that we have rice balls, but if you drink matcha or silk matcha or KAIKO, it'll decrease by 35%. So it's pretty guilt-free. Okay. All right. A little bit of introduction for the channels. We're already launched this in Singapore. You can purchase them online. And we have some Instagram, so feel free to follow us. Okay, we'll be presenting a lot of campaigns, a lot of event information. So if you're interested, please follow us. And later on, I'd like to address a very special exclusive campaign for purchasing for today. Right now, it's a bit pricey. It's in the premium, but for those of you who actually gathered here, I'd like to give us the gratitude for gathering. So I'd like to give you a special offer today. So please stick around. Okay. All right. So. Talk about the algae. Oh, sorry about that. So this KAIKO has allergens similar to shellfish. So if you're have allergy to crabs, lobsters, it is not recommended, but otherwise it does not have any side effects, so feel free to enjoy.